As the timeless prophets say, don't point a gun at a cop or you will get shot. Hi everyone, welcome to today's bonus badge cam lesson here at Active Self Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
And I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from Mahnomen, Minnesota. If I mispronounced that, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments.
I'm fairly certain. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Magtech is the only pistol or rifle ammo I use on the range, and I recommend them highly. I've seen their manufacturing and quality control firsthand, and it's incredible, which is why it always performs reliably and accurately. They are operating at max capacity and cranking out rounds for you to keep your skills sharp. Pick up some Magtech at your local ammo retailer or get it shipped fast at luckygunner.com. This officer has just been in a pursuit with this car that we see on screen. Tried to initiate a traffic stop. That traffic stop, they fled, so they ended up chasing them all over the place. Ended up using a pit maneuver to get them off the road. And there are 6 people inside that car. He's already got 2 of them in the back seat of his car in cuffs. Now he needs to get the next 2 in there. And we see the deputy here come up and get the first of these 2 into cuffs. And as he's trying to do that, you are going to see that the other woman there is actually going to draw a pistol out from under her clothes. And when he sees that, he is going to then make a very hard lateral step here in just a second and get into the fight. One more time, we see him get his gun out, issue some commands, and when she raises the gun at him, he shoots at her 5 times, hits her at least a couple. She did survive that. The officer was uninjured. She is now facing attempted murder of a police officer charges. We're going to think lessons.
I mean, seriously, people actually live where that much snow piles up.
Yeah, I don't, we have mountains here. We can drive to it like an hour away and look at snow and go, look, there's snow, and then like get back to where it's warm.
Never had to shovel the sunshine, but let's talk about lessons.
Mike, talk about a bad situation to be in here. This officer in the snow by himself had to use a maneuver to stop a car, has 6 people he has to deal with through all this and get them figured out who's doing what. Now, apparently, 2 of them have fled. 2 of them have run off, and so he's got 4 left here. 2 of them in the car already, trying to get the last 2 into cuffs. But what a terrible situation to end up in as an officer.
It's suboptimal. This is one of the reasons I spent my career in San Diego and Southern Arizona. I wouldn't have to deal with snow or sleet. Trying to fight on snow, if you're not familiar with it, trying to maneuver on snow, and especially in like duty boots or whatever, you don't get a lot of purchase. It's slippery. It's a mess. He is just been in a pursuit. He is just at night in the snow. He has just pitted a vehicle. He has gotten a person or 2 into custody. He's working on the other 2. He's doing this with what appears to be complete professionalism. I think he handled himself as well as he possibly could under these very difficult circumstances. But yeah, well done him.
Yeah, and listen, you're going to have to do work under less than ideal circumstances. And this is what we, unfortunately, in America today expect our officers to do, is to handle this kind of stuff solo officer because of our level of staffing and funding. This is one of the reasons I say we need to refund the police, not defund them, because, gosh, man, we really could have used 2 officers in this case. Might have been able to avoid a gunfight in that case. Now, he sees what's going down, and I think he really does a pretty great job here of seeing and moving. And I love the lateral movement here. This is, I think, one of the big reasons that he came out on top as well as he did. Because rather than backing up, especially in snow where it's going to cause him problems, he makes a hard lateral step, and that gives him the space that he needs without the danger of falling over, which is a good thing.
Additionally, John, this just occurred to me, he's also directing his and her fire away from this other third party. If he's standing right next to her, the odds of her being caught up in this gunfight go up exponentially. Lateral movement, whether on snow or not, in the presence of any weapon really, but especially another firearm, is so critical. That's why you got to train to, we call it getting off the X. You've got to get off the X. You can't stand there in one spot and draw a gun, especially now against an already drawn gun, and expect to prevail. So him moving in this manner, I think you're right. I think it absolutely changed the outcome of this 100%.
And of course, get really good standing and delivering first, and then start doing the same thing while you're moving.
Yeah.
I love the fact that our deputy here then gets his gun out and starts issuing commands. She has a gun down. I think had he shot her right here, I wouldn't have any problems whatsoever. but he gives her one more opportunity by saying drop the gun because he's got his gun out and on target, which is one of the reasons I think you should have the fastest draw that you possibly can. We don't always immediately fire, but that gun out there gives you a little bit of time to in order to affect the outcome and think well.
As a law enforcement officer, your draw needs to be as quick as you can possibly get it. You need to practice it over and over and over. If you get a new holster, you're starting from scratch. You need to practice that draw over and over and over. And also, your backup gun. And also, where do you carry when you're off duty? All these draws need to be automatic, and it needs to be something that you give zero thought to. It absolutely happens automatically like anything else. Yep. It's kind of like driving a car. When you drive home from work, you don't think to yourself, okay, I'm going to apply the brake now, and now I'm going to turn my indicator on and turn the wheel to the right. You just do it.
Exactly.
So your firearm skills need to be at that level, and clearly this gentleman here had practiced plenty.
And so we always say the professional standard, 1.5 seconds, right? But that's just the standard. In fact, if you can be faster, you probably want to be faster because, again, nobody ever got too far ahead in a gunfight. Now let's think about what that gives him. Is we're going to slow it down as it moves here, is that this is when she starts to raise the gun, chamber the gun, and this is why you want to be fast. Because he was already there when she makes that move, he's able to stay ahead of her in the gunfight and get the shot off. Had he been a couple of tenths slower, she very well could have gotten the first shot off on him. Of course, we can what if to death, but the fact that he was fast enough means his gun was out there and ready to rock. Now, of course, Mike, I'm going to talk about the fact that he was on the radio instead of having two hands on the gun. You've got everything you need to win that fight with you. Just get on the gun and win the fight.
Yeah, I'd almost like to rewind it because can you tell if his hand is on the radio before the gun is drawn? Because that's critical.
Yeah, as she is, not before the gun is drawn, but you can see that as he's drawing the gun, he's getting on the radio, pointing the gun, giving commands to her, and also talking on the radio at the same time.
Yeah.
But of course, this is one of those kinds of instances where you're like, dude, you've got everything where you are to solve the problem. Nobody's coming to help you. You need to solve it.
Yeah, in the moment, getting on the radio to announce the presence of a gun, I can only imagine why he would do that. I'm not bagging on this poor guy. He did a great job, but yeah, stay off the radio. If you feel like you need to memorialize the fact that she has a gun, do it after the shooting's done.
Yeah, and again, no big beef here. The other part of that we want to talk about here, we always say this, the first one to put an anatomically significant hit in the other guy is almost always the victor. So that first shot, that from a low ready or even here an aimed in ready, of being able to keep those sights on the target even under duress and get a hit with your first shot is critically important. And I think he did get a hit with his first one here. I can't guarantee you that, but it certainly caused some movement in the perp. And who, by the way, was a prohibited possessor in possession of a firearm who had active warrants out for her arrest. So she's not exactly what you'd call a Girl Scout in this particular case. But getting that hit on target was critically important, which then put her down and got her out of the fight. Even though they weren't, deadly hits, they weren't fatal hits, they got her out of the fight, and that's exactly what we want anyhow. Final thing I will say here, hey, he backed up. When we back up, we have a high probability of falling over, specifically and especially in the snow.
Right.
Not going to give him a hard time about that, but make sure that you're working on getting turned back around and into the fight as fast as you can.
Concur 100%. I think he did his best here. What a crazy situation. What a crazy night for him. Pit maneuver in the snow, multiple suspects. He just fired shots. I'm going to excuse him for falling over in that really uneven snow. What happened is he got back up. He prevailed. He covered his ass.